All right, Ubisoft's G-rated version of the Devolver Conference. We have Shigeru Miyamoto with a gun. I'm Matthew Favre. I'm joined by Matthew Hayes from wwg.com/gaming. Sorry, comicbook.com/gaming. Oh, this branding. So, Miyamoto came out. Ubisoft is learning. I feel like they've been watching Sony. They're bringing in big personalities. They had a gigantic, very Sony-like drop at the end of this conference. Mario Rabbids was the first one. Kingdom Battle. Miyamoto said he respected Ubisoft, viewed them as competitors, as rivals. They cut to the creator of Rabbids, I think it was, in the audience, and he was crying. I don't know if you saw that part. They're like, give us those tears. That's going to be a meme from now on. They said they've been working on the game for over 3 years. It's going to be a tactical adventure. Exclusive to the Switch, real-time movement on the overworld, and then it switches to turn-based strategic battles, kind of like XCOM, but fun. A lot of combo abilities, Rabbids, and Mario characters. What did you think of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle?
Man, I've been waiting a long time for this reveal specifically because we, over at Comic Book for WWG, we leaked it a little while ago, and it was a big story for us, and it's something, ever since I learned it existed, it's something that I thought was so bizarre but so perfect because I love Ubisoft for the risks that they take and for the goofy, different, sometimes, I don't know, like unsafe risks that they take with their games where they could very well bomb. Mm-hmm. And this was just that, this tops it all. As far as like outlandish and strange concepts and pitches go, smashing together Rabbids and Mario for a strategy RPG is just about as goofy as you can possibly get, and it sounds like something that should not work. But I've been so intrigued and so eager to see it in action, and I felt like my soul and my hope was validated by seeing other people get excited about this. And across the comment sections and forums, everybody was saying, "Okay, yeah, I can get into this. This looks great." Day one, wasn't sure, but now I feel great. This looks awesome. And hearing the crowd just randomly break out in cheers and claps during parts of the gameplay reveal was just really validating. It's like, Nintendo and Ubisoft both do things differently all the time, and they put their brains together and their creative talents together and made this really goofy, fun, colorful thing that nobody believed in at first, and everybody now is kind of behind it, and I think it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really reminds me of what Nintendo would do by just taking a genre like this sort of strategic Final Fantasy Tactics style, or like Fire Emblem, and then giving it their own sort of fun, lighthearted spin, or basically Nintendo's version of XCOM. But I wasn't sure exactly, like everybody else, what they were going to do with Rabbids, why they were together, but this looked promising. Okay, I mean, that was a good way to start the show, and then we moved on to Ubisoft's other gigantic property, Assassin's Creed Origins. The trailer focused on the Egyptian landscapes, a lot of animals shown, tribes, the architecture you're going to be climbing on. Assassin's Creed took a break for a year. That was nice. I'd like to see them do that more often. Looks like more Assassin's Creed with a bit more of a swagger and confidence coming back. They've had some ups and downs over the last couple releases, and I think it looks pretty solid. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. Admittedly, like I'm not burnt out on Assassin's Creed because 2 is the last game that I played all the way. It's the only Assassin's Creed game I've actually finished, and then I've dabbled here and there. I played Brotherhood and Revelations, and I kind of puttered out after that, and I took a long break myself from Assassin's Creed. I didn't even dive into Unity or Syndicate, so I am ready. Personally, like super ready for a new Assassin's Creed, and also personally, I just happen to be really into kind of that Egyptian lore and kind of the weird kind of mystic and fraternal storylines and different threads they're kind of pursuing here, and I think they're in a unique position to tell a unique story because they're going back to the beginning. I mean, there's no rules for them because they don't have to. They're kind of defining their canon with this game, and instead of being, kind of pushed around by what previous games have done with their storylines and trying to make sure that everything connects there. This is so far removed from everything else that they've done. They really can kind of reboot the series in a way that they see fit, and I think that's a really special place to be creatively. And it looks like the parts of Assassin's Creed that I really enjoy, like unique, sprawling, busy city type landscapes to traverse and explore. And I'm not sure how I feel about combat so far. We have gotten just a few glimpses of that, but as far as the concept goes and the setting, definitely I'm in for that one.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect setting with I mean, like you said, with the mystical side of things, and so that sort of magical regalness, and it seems to really fit what Assassin's Creed goes for, taking it out of sort of like more of like a blander, like, you know, I wouldn't want to see it in London or something. I'd want to see it somewhere here. This seems to give them a lot of room to play with. I'm sure the combat will be just like the combat in all the other ones. That's out October 27th, I do believe. Yeah, October 27th, 2017. Hey, then the game that I thought was the most forced on people was The Crew 2. I don't think anyone was really all that excited for it. But this producer, the presenter, man, he had confidence. He was waiting for applause and demanding applause. Like, when he said who he was and that he was making The Crew 2, and everyone was like, all right, yeah, we'll clap. Good job. Yeah, this is a game that no one's really that into. When you watch the trailer, there's all this sort of like world folding in on itself going on, but it's not Inception, the game. That's just somebody, whoever made this trailer thought that'd be cool. I'm going to do that. Open world set in the USA, driving just about everything you can race: bikes, planes, cars, boats. They showed off street races, off-roading and mountain ranges, boat racing. I thought that the boat racing looked really good. Plane racing through cities, around skyscrapers, under bridges. You can sign up for beta access, and it's coming out early 2018, multi-platform. Did The Crew 2 get your motor running?
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I mean, I one of my first reviews as a freelancer was The Crew's expansion, Wild Run. And so I spent some good time with The Crew. Sadly, after the majority of its community had kind of abandoned it on PS4 at least. But it was really unique. I didn't really have a good idea of what I was getting into going into that game, and just being able to basically drive across the country, just kind of like an abridged rendering of the entire country, and pass all these recognizable landmarks, and feel like you were taking this enormous trip with other people inhabiting that world. It was kind of cool. It was like a giant, automotive MMO, and so it's a unique concept. I'm glad they didn't abandon that. I'm glad that they're expanding that idea in every way possible and adding new types of vehicles, and it looked like a lot of fun. This is the type of game that has to have a large community to succeed. I think the concept is wonderful, and if people are playing, then I think it'll do really well.
Sounds like Ubisoft's calling to make sure you got the check for hyping up that game.
Yeah.
The Crew 2. Matt friggin' loves The Crew 2. I give Ubisoft a lot of crap, because I think that they make a lot of sort of bland single-player games. But on the other hand, they do push things forward quite a bit, and they take full advantage of big visuals and the kind of games you can only make on sort of the latest hardware. They want things to be large, include lots of people. By the way, online open world was the word of E3. Every single conference, it seems like 90% of the games are going to have online open world. And I'm not really big on that, but I mean, that just seems to be the way that it is going at this point. Next up, we had South Park: The Fractured Butthole. That's coming out October 17th. This looks great. I think they did such a great job with the Stick of Truth. And they mentioned, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, how difficult it was to translate their experience into a video game. But the Stick of Truth was so good that now that they've had that experience and they can get into it again a second time, I think they're just going to be so much better. They're going to knock this out of the park.
Yeah, and I'm excited to try it. I didn't play Stick of Truth, but I saw a lot of it and heard enough about it to know that it was a really solid game. The thing that fascinates me about Fractured Butthole is that it's made in Frostbite engine, which is something that, I mean, when I think Frostbite, I think FIFA, I think The Division, I think games that are going for very realistic aesthetics, and it's interesting that they're using Frostbite for it just shows how diverse that engine can be. Because usually I think of Frostbite the way most people think of Unreal Engine 4. You think of like the most advanced, most realistic, all particles and tons of polygons. And I figured that Ubisoft would go for maybe something more like UbiArt, the engine that they used for Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends and all that kind of stuff, Child of Light.
Yeah.
Because that seems like it's well suited for 2D and, that kind of animated, watercolored feel. So I don't know if UbiArt is dead. I would be kind of sad if that's the case, because I thought that was a beautiful engine. I thought Child of Light and Rayman Origins, those games scaled beautifully on every platform that they were on, and always performed really well and looked great. But yeah, no, it looks really, really great. It like straight up episode of South Park, and I guess people were saying the same thing when Stick of Truth came out. So
it's so good. You haven't played it yet, have you?
No, but I need to.
It is great. The Mario RPG sort of timing mechanics, the humor is so good and so spot on. There are so many. It's like when I played Uncharted, and every once in a while I think, I can't believe I'm doing this in a game. There were so many moments in Stick of Truth where I thought, I can't believe we're doing this. Their rendition of Canada was very, very accurate too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just wait till you play it. Even if you just YouTube that section. Transference. This is a game coming out in spring 2018. Elijah Wood promoting it. Very creepy looking VR game. They're talking about the theme centers around downloading and uploading traumatic memories. They kept it very, very mysterious, which I think is probably the best thing to do. I love where VR is going. It seems like they're finding out new ways to sort of explore that arena. Basically, what would have been, say, a point and click adventure type horror game, now you can put in VR and freak people out with Elijah Wood's creepy face. Yeah.
That one, that was an interesting announcement. That's Elijah Wood. I don't know if he started it. He might be like the co-creator of that studio, Spectrevision.
Wow.
I think it's like a film and entertainment studio. Like, I think they're producing, I guess, different kinds of multimedia. But I thought Spectrevision was going to be a movie studio, kind of like an indie movie suit. But I guess they're kind of blurring the lines and branching off into the interactive entertainment sector with Transference. And it is an interesting concept, especially in VR. I noticed at the end of the trailer that it's going to release on traditional platforms as well. It's going to be on everything: PS4, Xbox One, and then good PlayStation catch. VR, HTC Vive, Oculus Rift. So it's going to be playable outside of VR as well. But it definitely looks like VR is going to be the play, especially with that concept of, we're uploading another human being's consciousness, and you're going to relive his memories and relive his madness, and that whole kind of experimental approach. I think it's kind of caters to VR specifically, and I'm interested to see what they do with it. I'm interested to see if they can actually kind of mess with my mind and freak me out.
I think they will. It could just be a long shot of Elijah Wood. Skull and Bones coming out fall 2018, multi-platform. From the ashes of Assassin's Creed Black Flag comes this standalone pirate game. They're going to have online play, like every game, multiple seasons, multiple PvP modes. They showed off some 5v5 ship combat. In this mode, the most loot decides the winner. They talked about managing the sail winds and positioning, and some strategies of like going inland here versus going open sea. Ships having different strengths. Some are good up close, some are good from far away. I think this is just another really unique, now that we have Rare's version of pirate fighting, but another cool Ubisoft multiplayer title. I think that they don't get enough credit for all the cool multiplayer games that are coming out. Rainbow Six Siege, For Honor, now this. This looks like it could be pretty great as well.
I need to see more gameplay. I'm undecided. It seems like it's almost too slow pace to occupy somebody's attention in this generation for especially a long stretch of time. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just they showed a match of that loot game mode or whatever it was. And a lot of it is getting into position. A lot of it is steering the waters kind of slowly and assessing who else is in your territory and what directions they're taking and where they're going to be able to position themselves and fire upon you. And, I don't know. It seems like a slower pace strategic crawl, which is fine. I just don't... they're promoting it like it's going to be another Siege or For Honor, where they're going to have multiple seasons of support, and they're going to want people to play this for years to come. And we'll get to this later, but we obviously saw with Steep, like when they announce a game and they intend to support it for a long time, even if nobody's playing it, they are going to do it. So this is an interesting risk to me. I don't know. I love pirate ships, and the actual battle sequence looked really cool. I'm a little pirated out after Microsoft's huge Sea of Thieves slog, which lasted about 15 minutes too long. So the timing was a little unfortunate, but I hope they do something really unique with it. I hope there's some interesting, faster-paced game modes where you can kind of get in and get out, and there's a little more action with a little more immediacy. I'm undecided about that.
So you were probably really excited when they upped the tempo with some dancing and singing. This, I thought, was probably the least cringeworthy Ubisoft dance presentation. They just danced and then they sung, and then at the end they're like, by the way, Just Dance 2018 coming out October, all consoles. Because fans of Ubisoft's Just Dance are glued to every E3 presentation. I was thinking that when we were watching the EA conference, how do people who only play sports games know what E3 is? Probably not. They probably do not care. So, this wasn't that bad. It was okay. I'm sure you just finished writing your article when that was on.
You know what? I'm a Just Dance fan.
I
got Just Dance 2017 for the Switch, and
Full
my
of
wife
surprises.
and I...
Well, it's one of the only 4 games on the Switch, right?
Well, but it's fun. It's one of the 2 games on the Switch that my wife can actually play and enjoy, something we can play together at the same time. And she, being a non-gamer, can actually engage with competently and enjoy and have fun with and beat me in. And it's been a really, really... I have poo-pooed this game for so long. It's like something that I just only expect to see on the shelf of people who own a Wii and Wii Sports, and maybe Sing It or whatever that. It's like, I look at it as one of the non-gamers franchises. And then I got it so me and my wife could have something else to play together, and we've had so much fun.
Cool.
And it has really interesting online modes. So yeah, now, I don't know if it's going to be like a day one purchase or anything, but I was glad to see Just Dance 2018.
Yeah, I think there should be games for all types of people, and these are great party games. And I know my cousin and his younger friends that go to these bars that are all about video games, they're always dancing and putting it on Facebook and stuff. It's more like, I just don't think there is a huge audience there at E3, but I think they handled this really well. They just it was a nice little breakup in the action, so good for them. Yeah. Then we had this confusing South Park Phone Destroyer coming out 2017. I didn't really get a good glimpse of the gameplay other than...
I don't know what it is.
I guess they just have taken some of the strategic gameplay, because I know with Fracture Butthole it's going to be more of a strategic RPG where you're focusing on movement, not just your attacks. It looks like there's cooldowns and 5 characters at a time, I guess. They didn't really show much. They just kind of showed a lot of the story and a little bit of the action and the different kind of characters. So there's not really much to go on with this at all. But you know what? There is a lot to go on. Starlink, Battle for Atlas. The game that, if you just said, hey, a sci-fi game where you're dogfighting and you're dogfighting in space and then on the atmosphere, and it kind of turns into the Star Fox type game and Star Wars and creatures and the Legion, a very generic sounding enemy. And then I saw toys getting plugged into controllers. I don't think you need to buy the toys and collect them to play. I would be willing to check it out if there's none of that, but as soon as there's those toys involved, I don't care if you like toys, I just don't. That means nothing to me. But maybe it's a fun little dogfighting game.
Toys to Life is not dead. I thought it, like 2 years ago, I thought Toys to Life was going away forever.
Yeah.
Disney closed down Disney Infinity, and I thought, well, if Disney can't make Toys to Life work, nobody's going to do it. But here we are, and they're still coming out with new Lego Dimensions expansion sets. People are still buying it. Amiibo are still selling out. People still enjoy Toys to Life if it's executed properly, and you have, if you have an actual game worth tying in to the figurines or whatever you're buying. And especially with the younger generations, I don't know. I this is kind of like Skull and Bones. I'm on the fence about this one. If you have to have a bunch of plastic stuff around your room in order to enjoy this game the way it's meant to be played, that's kind of a deal breaker to me. Mm-hmm. But if you can play it on its own and collect the parts that you need and switch them out in a menu or whatever without having a giant plastic ship on your controller, And I didn't really. Could you tell? It almost looked like when they showed the PS4 controller and the Switch Joy-Con grip, the ships were on the controller. I mean, you were holding your controller with the ship right there, and like you were when the Nintendo Switch, it looked like they were slotting in ship parts onto the controller itself. And I'm wondering, are you gonna like hold your ship with the controller and tilt it around and control it, and then use
Nintendo would
triggers
love that.
to fire? I couldn't tell. I mean, it looked like
To me, it looked
that.
like something that plugged into some kind of port and then had a little sort of stand that they slot into, so it's raised a few inches off the controller. But definitely are going to be adding weight and balance to that controller so that Miyamoto can go, wee, wee, I'm flying around, wee, wee. This sounds like an idea a kid came up with. And maybe kids will really, really dig it, and they'll think it's amazing. I don't think it's all that exciting that in the heat of battle, you got to press start and then put a piece on. Now you're ready for some action. But maybe some people really like that. I mean, I'm not into toys. Maybe this is cool. It's probably going to make them a lot of money if it catches on. Hey, then we went on to Steep. Like you said, they are supporting the crap out of this game. Olympic DLC coming out December 5th. They're going to be dropping a whole bunch of Olympic sports. You can compete in a virtual Olympics. It was a fairly, straightforward little Steep trailer. People weren't all that excited by it, but they're still...
And nothing about the Switch.
Right, yeah. Is Steep
That's
not
still
on
a
Switch?
thing, right? Did they cancel that, or?
That was my biggest game that I saw on the Switch when they first announced it. I thought, this is a huge AAA title. Ubisoft makes big, powerful games.
Yeah.
For them to run on the Switch should have been good, but yeah, that kind of moved on. Moved on to a much more important property for Ubisoft. Far Cry 5. They showed a culty leader in the southern United States, some sort of rural, nice town that's been overrun, and you are in charge of a band of mercenaries. You got a dog for hire, you got a sniper for hire, you got a death from above guy who's flying around in planes. They showed a lot of stealth and your usual Far Cry stuff. Looks solid.
Yeah, I've never played a Far Cry. I don't know what they're like, but the few gameplay segments they showed in that toward the end of the gameplay trailer or whatever, it looked very violent. It looked very
they usually are.
gritty.
Usually the Far Cry games, especially like 4 and 3, I think, and I could be wrong about this, but they come from more of a place of fear. There's this one where you're with a group of sort of like asshole 20-somethings going and partying on an island, and you get held hostage, and your friends are getting killed, and you're struggling, and it's more of slight elements of horror, where this one you seem a lot more empowered. You're like the cool mercenaries. There's lots of swearing, sending a dog into battle. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, dogs would enjoy going into battle because they just like doing whatever people are doing. But how about the presenter for Ubisoft? This guy's pretty badass. He looks like a professional wrestler, and he dropped an F-bomb.
He was intense.
He didn't care. He's the manager of the Far Cry brand and the game. They even got to him. They corporatified the cool big guy. It looks like he rode in on a Harley. And then we had Ubisoft's Sony E3 moment. An unbelievably gorgeous CGI trailer of these human acting animals. A futuristic Fifth Element-like city. Lots of different landscapes. Sort of this British gangster slang, like straight out of a Guy Ritchie movie, with a monkey that we're supposed to think is charming that I didn't really buy into. He's escaping, and then the big moment, it's Beyond Good and Evil 2, and then once you see that, you go, oh yeah, obviously it is. But this tone is so different from Beyond Good and Evil 1, which was about a woman working with orphans and uncovering an interesting government conspiracy plot and a great sense of humor and a sense of wonder. It was Zelda for people who didn't have a Nintendo system, and this, I don't know, this looks Ubisoftified. Like they thought, yeah, could you make it more like Watch Dogs? It's going to be cool and British. So they didn't show any gameplay. All they talked about the gameplay was that it was going to be another seamless online world, exploring a lot of worlds, cultures, helming gigantic ships. Not a lot of information on it other than they said they've been working on it hard for 3 years. And then they asked everyone to join the monkey program.
Yeah. I was more interested in this game when I knew nothing about it, honestly. The trailer turned me off a little bit. It seemed like they were trying way too hard to be edgy and just totally flippant in their attitude and the curse. I mean, there was so much cursing that it was unnatural. I mean, it's one thing to, if you can, like a Quentin Tarantino film is full of curse words, but they always seem like you're a fly on the wall watching two kind of rough dudes just talking like they would normally talk.
Not people showing off for the camera.
This was just a little cringy, trying to come off way too cool and mature and dark. And I don't know. This is a game that will need redemption in my eyes. It's going to have to be gameplay or some kind of compelling story trailer to turn this around for me. I was a little underwhelmed.
I'm assuming they're going to go with the same third-person action Zelda-type gameplay from the first, but at this point, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be Eve, some sort of online ship game. There you have it. Ubisoft, where does this rank in your conferences you've seen so far, Mehdi?
Yeah.
Because I would personally put EA obviously at the bottom. I thought it was overly long, tried way too hard, made me not believe any of the people that they brought in to talk about their games. Then Microsoft I liked because they had tons of games.
Yeah.
Just tons of games. And I thought that they needed to show a lot of games and a lot of exclusives. Bethesda's was short and sweet, but they didn't really have too many big announcements, but that's fine. You can't have those all the time. Ubisoft, they look like they've learned a lot about presentation. And we'll see if Sony can top this with whatever. I mean, what's Sony going to come up with now? Metal Gear Solid 1 remade coming out in 2049.
I don't know. I don't know when this will air. I don't know if anybody will see this before Sony goes live, but I heard there's a rumor that Castlevania Symphony of the Night is being remade.
There it is. Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's just a rumor, but a lot of people are repeating it.
Still a beautiful looking game, actually. But yeah,
so that could be big.
I mean, not as big as Age of Empires remastered.
No, yeah. Hey, that was a pretty big announcement too. Who knows? We could get like a bomb ass Final Fantasy VII remake trailer that could blow everybody away with some really good gameplay segments, and
that would be big. That's what we need. Episode 1, whenever that's going to come out.
And Insomniac's Spider-Man, that should show up and look really good too.
There you go. All right, Matt, thanks for joining me. You can find me on A 90s Kid. We'll be covering every one of the E3 conferences from here on out. Sony's is tonight, and we'll have a video up right after that's over. And Nintendo's is tomorrow. You can find me on Twitter, Game Thing Talk, and you can find Matthew Hayes where?
At Matthew Face or comicbook.com/gaming.
That's it. Thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy E3.